Very good evening to all of you. Welcome to your Focus Weekly video. Nothing much was there in this week from the module of international relation as such from exam point of view. So only two topics which are of relevance from our exam point of view are first, India's northeast region. The statement by the foreign minister emphasizing the importance of northeast region, projecting it as a land-linked region to Southeast Asia rather than a landlocked region. This statement of him is being seen in context of that it's a counter remark given by him to the statement given by the interim advisor to the government of Bangladesh, Mohammed Yunus, in China, which we discussed last week, that what statement he has given. And after this, India has cancelled the transshipment facility with Bangladesh. This aspect we discussed in the last video. So when he said that northeastern region is a landlocked territory and China can tap the potential of the region with the help of Bangladesh, as Bangladesh, Dhaka is the guardian of the Indian Ocean region. So in this context, this statement has been given by India's foreign minister that rather than seeing it as a landlocked area, we need to see it as a land-linked area, and it's a gateway to Southeast Asia. Okay, so this is what he has said. Rather than seeing it as landlocked, need is to see it as land-linked to Southeast Asia. Now, what we can understand from this particular update is that the Northeast is a gateway to Southeast. Now, first thing we need to understand that there is a lot of violence and disturbance in Northeast. Okay, there's a lot of instability in Northeast. Because of this instability, development of the region is a challenge. So the first objective of the government is, and the violence which prevails in the region is known as insurgency. And there are multiple reasons for violent insurgency in Northeast. This is a topic of your internal security. Reasons for insurgency in Northeast, always important from exam point of view. So there are many violent insurgent groups who are either fighting for a separate state or they are fighting for their own sovereignty. Okay. So national integration is not completed in the region. And since independence, there is violent insurgency. So first objective of the government is to bring peace in the region. And bringing peace in the region is one of the important objectives to ensure the development of the region and to use this region as a gateway to Southeast Asia. Okay. So since 2014, since Modi government came to power, Modi government has taken a lot of steps to curb insurgency in the region. Modi government has reached for peace accords with many violent insurgent groups. Like peace accord was signed with NSCN, IM faction, National Socialist Council of Nagaland, with Bodo groups, with one of the Bodo faction, okay, that is NDFB, with KPLT, Kuki People's Liberation Tiger. Okay, so government is able to sign peace accords with many violent insurgent groups, and government is trying to bring development in the region and use it as a gateway. So in this context, foreign minister has said, rather than seeing it as a landlocked, we need to see it as a land-linked region. Now, in the previous videos, I have discussed that after independence, India announced neighborhood first policy. Okay. So India decided we are going to pursue neighbor, means immediate neighborhood is of most important concern for us. When we are saying neighborhood, we have two types of neighborhood: immediate neighborhood and extended neighborhood. Now, which region comprises our immediate neighborhood? South Asia. So the countries who are in South Asian region, these are seen as immediate neighborhood of ours. That is Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Maldives. So these countries are seen as the countries lies in immediate neighborhood. Now, which comprises our extended neighborhood? The countries of Southeast Asia, the countries of West Asia, and the countries of Central Asia. These are seen as extended neighborhood of ours. So under the neighborhood first policy, we decided to reach out to our immediate neighborhood and extended neighborhood. Now we didn't reach out to this region till 90. Okay. And post 90s, India announced the look east policy. Now, the reason why we are not looking towards this region earlier was there were two reasons, and the two factors were that first, India was pursuing the closed economic policy, also known as import substitution policy. As we are pursuing a closed economic policy, we didn't feel the need to reach out to this region. Post 90s, we started export promotion model. Okay. It would be export promotion. Now, immediately it was not possible that Indian goods would have been able to tap the European markets. So which regions could have been the market for us? African markets and the Asian markets. And one of the region which could have been market for us was Southeast Asia. So one economic reason led to the decision of the government to reach out to this region under look east policy, that is LPG reforms. Okay, liberalization, privatization, and globalization. If you're done with economy, might be you are aware of this. Okay. Second factor was this region became the ally of the West during Cold War. So till 90s, there was Cold War, and this region became the geopolitical ally of the West. As many countries joined US-led military alliance, that is SEATO. So there was ideological rift between India ideological rift between India and this region, as India was pursuing non-alignment policy of non-alignment. And under the policy of non-alignment, India decided to start a movement called non-aligned movement of third world countries. So there was an ideological alignment. There was no ideological alignment. There was ideological rift between India and this region. This ideological rift ended with the end of Cold War. One of the important grouping of this region is ASEAN. So ASEAN grouping was constituted in 1967 on the lines of EU, European Union. So the countries of this region opted for capitalist economy. Okay. And India was more inclined towards socialism. So they opted for capitalist economy. That's why they are known as Asian tigers. So they liberalized their economy around 2 decades ahead than India. And that is why they are known as Asian tigers. So two factors which led to India's look east policy post 90s was that first, we change our economic policy, and second, the ideological rift or the ideological that both ended on the opposite sides of the Cold War. This rift was over, and now India initiated look east policy to reach out to Southeast Asia. Now, this look east policy has turned tremendously successful. Okay. It has proved tremendously successful as we have seen the exponential rise of trade with this region. Now, what led to the success of look east policy is first reason is the political stability of the region. Second reason, we have strong connectivity with the region. One of the hiccup for India Central Asia policy is the connectivity. We do not have this connectivity challenge with this region. And under Act East policy, when India has broadened the scope of look east from Act East, we'll come to that. Under Act East, we have further emphasized that we are going to strengthen our connectivity. Okay. So India, a lot of emphasis on connectivity, and we have good connectivity there with the region. And third, Now, the two reasons for the success are these. One, stability of the region, and second, strong connectivity. Third is post 90s, the countries of this region, that is the Southeast Asian countries or Asian state, they themselves started feeling uncomfortable with the rising profile and hegemony of China. As China started asserting more, started asserting itself more and more within the region. Okay, so they started feeling uncomfortable with the rising presence and influence of China in the region, and they started looking towards India as a balancer. So they want India here as a balancer to China. So it was never about India's look east. It was equally defined by Southeast Asia's look India policy. So it is the commonality of the interest which has led to the huge success of LEP. Okay, so India announced LEP in 91, and in 2014, Modi government announced Act East from Look East. So he said, rather than looking east, we should act east. So how Look East is different from Act East? One thing is this. Okay, what more we have brought under Act East? So in this aspect only, the importance of Southeast lies, that the success of Act East lies with the stability, growth, and the development of Northeast, and use Northeast as a gateway to Southeast. So in 14, Modi government announced Act East. And as I said, China is aggressively asserting its hegemony in the region. Though Chinese leadership has always stated that they are committed for peaceful rise, but the way they are behaving, it seems they are not interested in peaceful rise. They are trying to assert Sinocentrism. So China is aspiring to create a new world order, that is the Sino-centric world order, at least in this region. Like they are threatening Taiwan with a military action. They have come up with a hypothetical horseshoe shape 9 dotted line. So it's a hypothetical 9 dotted line which China has demarcated in South China Sea. Okay, and has released new maps claiming whatever comes under this 9 dotted line belongs to China. And this brings China in dispute with almost all the Southeast Asian countries. And that is why they are not comfortable with the hegemony of China. And they want India here as a balancer to China. So look, the main difference between Look East and Act East is that Look East was more of economic in nature, while Act East is more of strategic in nature. Though India has always projected, we do not, under Act East, we are not pursuing a policy to counter China. This is India's claim that we are not pursuing Act East to counter China. We are here to even engage with China. But China understands this. There is that beneath economic aspiration, there is a strategic aspect within Act East. And within Act East, India is looking forward to align more strategically with the US in the region and more strategically with US and its allies like Japan, Australia, okay, Vietnam, Indonesia, Singapore. So under Act East, China believes India is strategically aligning with US to counter China. Now there is some, if I'll tell you a bit more, there is a bigger geopolitics is going on between the major players and powers of the region. Now, this region from the tip of Africa to the tip of South America is known as Asia Pacific region. And the US administration has started using the word Indo-Pacific for Asia Pacific, emphasizing on the centrality of India. And China do not prefer to use word Indo-Pacific. So China, in all of its official communication, use Asia Pacific. Okay. Now, US under Obama administration announced a policy called Pivot to Asia. According to US, this is the economic policy of US to increase its economic engagement with the countries of South Asia and Southeast Asia. But China considers this pivot is a strategic game plan of US, through which US wants to strategically increase its presence and influence. US is increasing its naval military presence in the region under its pivot to Asia strategy. There was a time when US was having 60% of its naval strength in Atlantic, but now US at present is having 60% of its naval strength in Asia Pacific. So as US is increasing its strategic presence here, China consider pivot is not an economic policy, it's the geopolitical game plan of China, of US to keep China in check. Okay. Now that is why when this pivot to Asia was announced during the Obama administration, and at that time, Hillary Clinton, she was the Secretary of State, and she said India should not look east, but India should act east. And this statement of US was a clear indication of this aspect that US is ready to reach out to India as a ally in the region to keep China in check. Okay. Now earlier, India was a bit cautious. India do not want to antagonize China. India was trying to play a balancing act between US and China, but as China's leadership started asserting themselves more, and Galwan clash give this clarity that China is asserting its hegemony. And India or Indian leadership realized that it's time to strategically align with the US, and India announced Act East. And one of the component or the major component of Act East is the development of Northeast. PM Modi said the need is to act fast towards the development of Northeast for the success of Act East. Okay. And as I said, China believes there's a strategic angle involved in India's Act East, and this is why they have created a Quad in the region. And Quad is the strategic alignment of India's Act East with US pivot. Okay. Now, when US came up with the pivot strategy, China, with its new economic strength, came up with OBOR, which has two components, Belt Road Initiative and the Maritime Silk Route. Now, China projects Maritime Silk Route is an economic policy of China to engage with the countries of South Asia, but India considers it as a strategic policy of China, that is the string of pearl, through which China wants to surround us militarily from all the sides, at least in Indian Ocean region. Now, India is very sensitive for the Indian Ocean region. This is our sphere of influence, and increasing influence of any power here is a challenge for us. And as China's strategic presence is increasing in the region, India devised a way to align with the US in the region, because unilaterally we cannot counter China. And in this backdrop, India announced Act East, and here for the success of Act East, development of Northeast is prerequisite, and instability, till the time instability will be there, it will be difficult to attain that kind of success. That is why government wants to bring stability. And the statement of the leader of the Bangladesh was not was a kind of real challenge for India. And in this backdrop, S. Jaishankar has said that rather than seeing it as landlocked, we need to see it as land linked. Okay. And some of the, not only we are trying to use this region to strengthen our economy, this region holds a lot of soft power, which we projected during the G20. And some of the important, these are the important infrastructure projects on which there can be a question in your pre, which we have taken to further strengthen connectivity with the Southeast Asian region, that is Kaladan multi-modal project, India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway, and the BBIN corridor. Okay. Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal. As I said, under Act East, connectivity is one of the major area of our focus. The three areas of our focus under Act East are: first, commerce. That is 3 C's, means further strengthen our economic engagement with the countries of this region, connectivity, and culture. So reach out to this region through our soft power, that is Hinduism, Buddhism link. Okay. So these are the 3 C's of our Act East. So this was in the news, and the other thing which was in the news, sometimes such out of the blue questions, UPSC can ask in your pre-exam like International Big Cat Alliance. What exactly it is? So factual aspect to know this, that this IBCA, International Big Cat Alliance, signed an agreement with the government of India. Headquarter will be India. It's a treaty-based intergovernmental organization. Okay. Intergovernmental organization means organizations which are created by states in international system. Okay. There's a thin line difference between international organizations and intergovernmental organization. Like UN is international organization. When only states are part of an organization, this is intergovernmental. If state and if there is any non-state actor is also a part of an organization, this is called international organization. Okay. So it's a multi-country, multi-agency. What is more important is to conserve 7 big cats and their habitats. I guess it should be habitats. 7 big cats. Okay. Treaty-based international organization ratified by India. Okay. So the difference between signing a treaty and ratification is treaties are signed by executive and ratified by legislature. So important is sometimes these kind of slogans also can come: one earth, one family, one future. Okay. So these are the things. This is what is important to know. And what are the objectives? Combat illegal wildlife trade, and it's a step towards sustainable development. India's commitment for sustainable development under MDGs, Millennium Development Goals. So only these 2 things were important from exam point of view from this week of international relation. That is our Northeast and our Act East, the success of our Act East and the development of Northeast. How Act East are different from Look East. Okay. Hope this discussion would have helped you to understand that is something called Act East, which is seen by China as a challenge to it, where India is aligning with US, and China has used the word Asian NATO for Quad, though denial from the leaders of the Quad. And after the first virtual summit of Quad, the outcome statement of the Quad was that it is more than a military alliance. It's not a military alliance. Okay. It has some other objectives also to achieve. So they have downplayed Quad, while China clearly consider it as a strategic engagement to keep or to counter China. Okay. So hopefully see you next week. Best wishes. Take care.